Reese Rambles, episode 37, take 3. Yep, that's right. I didn't really sleep very much last night, and I've still been feeling pretty horrific. In fact, I even took another COVID test. I don't want people to think that I'm obsessed with these or anything, because last week I'd just taken one of these as well. But it's been so bad, sweating and can't breathe and tightness in the chest, can't taste anything. It's all very similar to the one time that I did have the bug, but apparently not, according to the test. Although our tests are quite old now, and I don't even know if these have expired. Oh, they have. Yeah, like 6 months ago. So who knows? Do they lose their effectiveness over time? I didn't just show you my address, did I? No, it's not got my address on it. But yeah. Anyway, so I shall persevere, but I'm a bit fuzzy-headed. But a few things to talk about this week. The main one being my octopus. Now, the reason this is take 3 is because I've spent far too much time talking about said octopus in the past 2 takes and decided to just give up. So to cut a very, very long story short, the octopus is a thing. It's a bendy thing. It's a phone holder designed for cars, and basically you shove it in the air vents of the car and then you bend the other legs into a position where it can hold your phone, so you can use it as a sat-nav and stuff like that. Something that Catherine very kindly bought for me a few years ago. And I predominantly use it in here on my desk to hold my old phone, my old Nokia. And it's a smartphone for the benefit of people who are listening, not like a 5110 or anything like that. And what I do is I use it to control my overhead camera and stuff like that. But also when I'm recording my rambles, I have my notes on there and have it kind of vaguely in my line of sight, so I can kind of glance down and look at it and consult the notes and know what I'm going to talk about, because believe it or not, I do actually put some preparation into this. Not a huge amount, but yes, I do put some preparation into the rambles and kind of at least have a vague idea of what I'm going to talk about before I start. But I'm also very forgetful at the best of times, let alone when I'm ill and haven't been sleeping properly. So the notes very much help. So I thought I'd get some fresh air this morning. Just been out and cleaned the ducks, our 3 Indian runner ducks, Patsy, Eddie and Taran, who we hatched out during lockdown as one of those crazy lockdown projects. I know, I think Max Fosh did a video. We're really getting into Max Fosh again at the minute. I think he did a video at the time where he'd bought some quail eggs from Waitrose and he'd hatched them out in his flat. I don't know if we were inspired by that, or maybe if we watched it sort of around that time, or maybe slightly afterwards. But we're quite rural here. We're in the countryside, and we thought, let's try and hatch out some Indian runner ducks. And yeah, 3 of them hatched successfully. Very much looking forward to getting some very tasty eggs out of them. Turned out that they were all boys, so they're all male. And of course, when mating season comes along, they do all get quite aggressive. Fortunately, that only lasts a couple of months. But yeah, the neighbourhood cats are all terrified of them, which, to be fair, is probably a good thing, because they do have the run of the garden most of the time. Obviously, we've had bird flu and stuff, so we've kind of had to lock them down as well a few times over the past couple of years. But at the moment, they do have the run of the garden. And, people are always concerned for their welfare and well, what if they get eaten by a fox or by a cat or whatever? But I've seen the way they interact with cats. Yeah, every single cat that comes into our garden, including our own 2 cats, are absolutely terrified of the ducks, because they're mental and they're quite vicious sometimes. Not towards us generally, and not for the majority of the year. But yeah, obviously the cats kind of learn that. They only need one interaction, and they're smart enough to stay away. Which is very good thing. So I thought I would go outside and I'd get some fresh air and muck them out and change their water and stuff like that, which they always very much appreciate. Because ducks make a horrific mess and they destroy the garden. They dig the lawn up looking for bugs. They eat all of the plants. They've eaten all of our patio plants, all the ones that we actually care about. We've had to kind of fence off on a separate area of the patio. They are vegetables. We've got raised beds that we grow beans and peas and things in. Quite often catch them, in those eating all of our vegetables. And to top it all off, they poop everywhere, constantly, all over the patio usually, rather than at the bottom of the garden where it wouldn't really be a problem. But they're wonderful. They're a real source of joy in our lives. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about ducks. I'm here to talk about some fun things. So, shall we call that the preamble? Let's let's just get on with it. Actually, no, I just wanted to quickly talk about the about last week's video about engaging with the Atari community, kind of prompted by a comment that I'd had. Lots of really good feedback off that. It seems everyone's very much on the same page as me. Totally agrees that I should be making videos about stuff that I want to make videos about, rather than stuff that other people are demanding that I do, which is very good. I had a downvote on that one. It's interesting because like these rambles on YouTube, they'll get like 100% thumbs up. To the point where quite a while back, I actually asked my listeners to participate in an experiment and to downvote a particular episode, which they did in their droves. I think it got down to like 60% or something, which is by far the most downvoted video I've ever done. I'm usually sort of 98.9 at the lowest. On my main channel on videos that kind of go out to thousands of viewers. And on my second channel, it's usually just 100%. And last week, one person downvoted it, but they didn't comment. You should comment. If you have an issue, you have any particular objection to what I'm saying, let me know in the comments. It'd be interesting. I promise I won't turn it into an entire episode where I rant at you. Actually, no, I can't promise that. I might do that. And the other sort of heavily downvoted one that I did recently was when I talked about the Atari Game Station Pro, and I put that in the title and in the thumbnail without really thinking about it, and I think YouTube decided to run with it and kind of push it to a lot of people. So it's got like 6 times the number of views of my usual rambles, and I guess a lot of people clicked on it expecting some news about the Atari Game Station Pro, and the entire first 15 minutes of that is just me rambling about YouTube stuff, I think. And then when it does get to the Atari bit, it's kind of very light on detail. It's just me looking at the webpage and saying, oh yeah, look at this thing. Atari have announced this. Doesn't it look interesting? I guess this channel will never have that kind of broad appeal, but that's why I do it, because that's kind of what I kind of aim for with Control-Alt-Reese. But anyway, I think that's the end of the ramble. So let's do the thing where we freeze for a second and then come back in another second with a whole new subject. Yep, just like that, as promised. Now, I have a friend called Sam, who you've probably heard of because I've mentioned him in previous rambles, and I know he's a regular viewer as well. So shout out to Sam. And yes, the other night we ended up drinking mead out of port snifters for some reason. Not quite sure why, but works surprisingly well. As long as you know how to use a snifter properly and you don't end up pouring it all over yourself. But yeah, the less said about that, the better. But he's been helping me out with some of the studio stuff for reasons that I won't go into. But he's helped me get the internet hooked up and all that kind of stuff. And I happened to mention to him the other day that I've been having some issues with my GoPro. Now, I have this GoPro Hero 4 Silver, which is ancient. I bought this like my very first customer when I went self-employed was a big e-commerce website selling photographic stuff and printing stuff and ink and paper and that kind of thing. And the owner of said website is a good friend of mine, was at the time, and still do a lot of work for him with his current business. The previous one's kind of been and gone. He sold that on to someone else, and it's kind of withered away to nothing. But I actually bought this from him at the time, and these are really expensive. GoPros are. They're like 400 quid or something. And it's been an excellent camera over the years. I've used it for so many things, and it's so handy. And the batteries still hold charge really, really well. So I can really recommend GoPros. They are excellent. You do kind of get what you pay for. You kind of pay for the name a bit as well. But just recently I've been using this to do some like time-lapse recordings of the office move and stuff. And it's good for that. But obviously all my videos tend to be in 4K, and this will only do like 15 FPS at 4K because it's just very old and 4K was barely a thing when it came out. So you can't really blame it for that. And I can work around that because, like I say, I use it for time lapses, and you can speed those up, and, it doesn't really matter. I'm not using it for recording real time stuff. And the few bits that I did, like that first office kind of move video that I did, I just recorded it in 1080p because, let's face it, most people don't care anyway. But it started to corrupt. It started to corrupt files and stuff. I've had it where I've been recording something and then I'll hear it beeping and kind of go over and look, and it will say SD card error on the screen. And when I go to actually check the files afterwards, they don't play back. And I've tried running them through FFmpeg and stuff like that. And the camera supposedly has some kind of built-in like repair thing that can try to repair corrupted files, but it just doesn't. And the SD card's fine. It's the same card that I use with my other cameras and stuff. It's just, I don't know if the battery's kind of starting to fail or if it's just kind of what happens to them when they get a bit old. But whatever. Obviously, it was long overdue for replacement. Trouble is, brand new GoPros are still about 400 quid. And I don't really want to spend that because that's a ridiculous amount of money. And just before we went away, my good friend Sam, this is what it all comes back to, was asking, because they were doing a bit of a road trip before we kind of joined them. He was asking about action cameras and stuff. And it just so happened that I'd actually been looking into them and looking into like GoPro alternatives. And I found this one called an Acaso or a Queso. It's basically a GoPro. They're practically identical. But it's about a quarter of the price. They're like 100 quid. And you get loads of accessories with them, like, like windscreen mounts and helmet mounts and like a floating surfing handle thing and all sorts, stuff that costs a fortune if you buy it, buy the GoPro branded versions. So I actually went out and bought one, and he used it on holiday, and he really loved it and got on really well with it. And I've now borrowed it, and I'm now going to be using it for my office videos and stuff. So I might do a bit of a review of that. I've not really used it yet, other than kind of having a bit of a play with it, and video quality looks good, easy enough to use. It's like I say, it's basically a clone of a GoPro, so it's all the on-screen menus and stuff are practically the same. So that's nice for someone who's familiar with one of those. And just an interesting thing. But it's quite interesting, the world of reviews and stuff. Wow, this is an amazing segue. I didn't even plan this. Interesting, the world of reviews and stuff. And speaking of The Office and all of that, yesterday I had a FlexiSpot standing desk arrive. They emailed me months and months ago, probably over a year ago. I should have checked the date, but obviously one doesn't work in my kind of normal recording space. Its desk is kind of fully integrated into the mountain of crap, and I wouldn't have room to sort of raise it and lower it, and it would be a bit pointless, I think. As I kind of talked about, I really wanted the kind of setup where I could sit behind the desk and have the camera the other side, or stand behind the desk and have the camera the other side. And just on the off chance, I thought, moving into this new studio, I was thinking about furniture and stuff, and I thought I'll email them back and see if they're still sort of interested in doing like a sponsorship deal. I've spoken to loads of other YouTubers. Well, I say loads of other YouTubers. I've spoken to a couple of other YouTubers who use FlexiSpot standing desks. And the feedback has all been really good. People are generally very, very happy with them. I mean, they come with like a 7-year warranty and stuff. This is going to start to sound like a sales pitch, and I need to be really careful to not kind of do too much for my sponsors, because you have to do the bare minimum that you're contractually obliged to do. But in this case, this is what I've been offered. It's over £500 for one of these desks. They're a proper serious bit of kit. And I emailed them back, and they very quickly responded and were like, tell us the address and what colour you want, and we'll get one sent out to you straight away. And it arrived like less than 48 hours later, which is quite incredible. And they've also given me a whole month to make the video, which is fantastic, because it means I can actually use the thing and give my honest opinions on it. Because all they want is a 60-second mention of my experiences with this desk and how I've kind of used it as part of my setup. So that's really, really cool. And I know I released a video a while back. It was a bit of a channel update, and to be honest, I think it was just before we went away, like end of August, early September kind of time. And to be entirely honest with you, it was to keep the ball rolling on the channel, because a load of stuff that I was working on was stalled, and I basically did a ramble on the main channel and talked about, among other things, sponsorship. And how I hadn't done a sponsored video for a very long time, and how I generally didn't have like mid-roll ads in my videos and that kind of stuff as well. And I need to go back and actually check what it was that I said on the subject, but I know that I left my options open should I want to do sponsorship in future. And I think this is one of those examples where actually it's much like the EcoFlow when I did the stuff with them, and I did mention that in the video as well. It's stuff that I was going to buy anyway. And look, I don't do this because I want free stuff. I'm more than capable of buying my own stuff for the channel. But yeah, it just seemed to make perfect sense. It's like, well, I need a desk. A standing desk actually works in that space and would actually be a really useful thing to have. I know people who have these who are really happy with them, and they've offered to send me one for free. So it's like, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? Unless those people were lying to me, or I've been given a slightly different model that ends up being a load of crap or whatever. I'm not expecting to sort of have to, lie to people or anything like that. They've not dictated what I have to say or anything like that. Like I say, they just want there's a couple of things that I have to mention. I think they've got like a Black Friday offer on that I need to sort of make people aware of. But they certainly haven't told me that, here's a big list of bullet points of features of the desk, and you've got to mention this, this, and this. And, they've not got editorial control of the video or anything like that. It's exactly like the stuff that I did with EcoFlow, so I can have a bit of fun with it, which is really cool. And I mention this because it's relevant and because it's kind of ongoing and because it's something that's happening in my life. But I also mention it because I was watching a video from another channel that there's another tech channel that I watch quite a lot of. I mean, I watch a lot of them. I have a few friends in this world who have their own channels and stuff, and this one, it's one of the bigger ones that I watch. And they did a sponsorship with an app called BetterHelp, which is like a counselling app. And like literally everyone was advertising it at one point, like loads of big YouTubers, and then a load of stuff came out of the woodwork about how they were, actually. The so-called counsellors on the app weren't actually qualified, and it was doing a really, really bad job of, matching people up with the correct people. And people were like, it was having a massive detrimental effect on the very people that it was supposedly designed to help. To cut a very long story short. And then all of a sudden, all these massive YouTubers stopped working with them and don't do any kind of sponsorship with them anymore. And yeah, I saw it pop up on this smaller channel quite recently. And the comments, like the people in the comments, like, I'd say, I didn't spend all that long scrolling, but probably half the comments were from people just completely trashing the person running the channel, saying, how can you possibly work with these people after all this stuff that's kind of come out of the woodwork? And it's like, oh, so you have to be really careful about who you work with, sponsor wise. And just to mention another very recent example, there's an app called Temu, which sells very it's crap. It's just Chinese crap, just very low quality, cheap, AliExpress type rubbish. But they try to dress it up like it's the next big thing in shopping apps, and it's going to save you loads of money and that kind of stuff. And it's not. It's just a way of offloading a load of poorly made, dangerous, borderline illegal Chinese crap. Temu is the name of the app. Did I mention that? And funnily enough, reasonably recently, although a little bit further back, another tech channel that I watch, another person that I know in this sphere, worked with them and actually did a sponsor spot with them in the middle of one of their videos. And again, in the comments, they got completely torn apart for it. And I think some people genuinely don't know, that they're not terminally online like some of us and don't know about the controversies around these companies and stuff like that. And that's, it's unfortunate. And, I guess if people point it out and you say, oh, okay, sorry, perhaps I shouldn't have worked with these people, actually, sorry about that, I won't do it again, which is what's happened in both of these cases, then you kind of live and learn, don't you? But it's a bit of a minefield working with sponsors and stuff, and it's one of the reasons that I kind of generally don't. The other reason being that they're kind of quite annoying. That, making a video where you're talking about, I'm fixing up this old, Atari 2600 or whatever, and then halfway through you suddenly stop the video to say, hey, get your meal prep from HelloFresh or whatever. You know what I mean? But for people that do this full time, because of the ad revenue isn't what it used to be, unless you've got millions of subscribers, which basically nobody, unless you're talking about like 8-Bit Guy or LGR, and who both famously don't do sponsorships. Unless you've got over a million subscribers in this sphere of retro computing and stuff, which is nigh on impossible, then you're going to have to do sponsorships if you want to earn a full-time living, or you're going to have to sort of very heavily push Patreon and coffee and memberships and all that kind of stuff, which also annoys people. So yeah, YouTube doing this recent anti-ad blocking stuff, and they started having messages that pop up pestering people that use ad blockers, telling them to turn their ad blocker off, or they'll stop playing videos. Pushing people down the kind of premium subscription route. Perhaps just like pay creators properly, and then we wouldn't have to do all this shady stuff and work with people. This has gone off completely on a tangent, but anyway, two recent examples of sponsors that didn't go down well with viewers, and me working with a sponsor who I've only heard good things about. I've done my due diligence on that, and hopefully it will go well, and hopefully it will actually end up being useful and something good that I can use for the channel longer term. Wow, that was quite the tangent, wasn't it? Anyway, just a little light-hearted thing just to finish off before I go and continue to feel sorry for myself today. Although I suppose I should probably edit this and get it uploaded as well, shouldn't I? But something I discovered earlier in the week, I was scrolling through Instagram, as you do, and I follow some of the big old-school tech news sites on there, people like The Verge and TechCrunch and people like that. And I can't be bothered to sort of go and check their websites every day to see what the news is, but it's quite an easy, digestible way of just kind of keeping up with little bits and bobs of kind of tech industry news. One of the few things that Instagram's actually useful for, other than looking at pictures of other people's dinner and promoting my own channel. And there was a news story in there about a tech company that I wasn't aware of and that I thought was actually quite amusing and quite interesting. And I have shared this with a few people. I think I've even shared it on my own Discord server as well. So so far, all the people I've shared it with, nobody found it particularly interesting, but I'm going to do it anyway because I think it's great. So, Shark vacuum cleaners. You've probably heard of Shark vacuum cleaners, and no, they're not sponsoring me or anything like that, based on what I've previously said in this episode. But they're quite expensive. I think they're one of these, upstart, Silicon Valley type companies. You see them advertised everywhere, doing something a little bit different. And they make vacuum cleaners, floor cleaners, hair dryers, all of that kind of stuff. Kind of like the Silicon Valley equivalent of Dyson, I guess, or something like that. Now, there's also a company called Ninja. And Ninja's website looks very similar to Shark's. But Ninja make air fryers. Air fryers are pretty massive a few years ago. We actually have a Ninja air fryer. We've got the sort of the very basic model, which is still 130 quid. Considering you can buy like an Audi own brand one for like 40 quid or whatever they cost nowadays. Although, there is a chance it will burn your house down. But we love our air fryer. We think it's fantastic. We're air fryer people. You speak to anyone who has an air fryer and they will sing its praises and tell you how wonderful it is and try and convince you to buy an air fryer because they're great. But so the way that these two seemingly completely separate products are connected is quite interesting. So Shark vacuum cleaners and Ninja air fryers are both made by a company called Shark Ninja. This is they're actually based in Massachusetts, apparently, not Silicon Valley. Apologies for that, Massachusetts people. But that's the company that makes Shark vacuum cleaners and Ninja air fryers. A company called Shark Ninja. And yes, it was the result of a merger of two different companies. But what a cool name for a company. Anyway, I'll leave you with that for now. Thank you very much for listening for this week. Maybe a little bit shorter because I'm feeling a little bit under the weather yet again. I'm sure you're probably tired of hearing about that. But thank you ever so much. Look forward to those. Look out for those office updates coming out very soon on Control-Alt-Reese on my main channel. There's also a video coming out about some Atari 2600s, which is quite a nice departure from other recent things that I've been up to. Back to my roots with a nice old school hardware modding video, so I hope you enjoy that one too. But yes, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you ever so much, and buy an air fryer. Bye.